This is Center Stage, putting your firm in the spotlight by highlighting business owners and other industry experts to help take your firm to the next level. Hey everyone, and welcome to Center Stage. I'm your host, John Henson, and this week we are talking about your firm's social media presence, but with a little bit of a twist and a slant more on the ethical side of things. And this episode really could not have come at a better time for me personally, because this is something that I am studying a lot internally here at Spotlight Branding, and just how lawyers use social media, how they feel about social media, how they interact and engage with it. So I am really glad that we connected with today's guest back at the Georgia Solo and Small Bar Conference in April, and that is the owner of the Back Pocket CMO, Emily Wiegert. Thanks for joining us, Emily.
Hey, I'm glad to be here. Yeah.
Awesome. So tell us a little bit about yourself before we dive in here.
I'm Emily Wiegert. I am a marketing consultant and strategist. So what I do is get in to your marketing strategy kind of behind the scenes and would turn you over to somebody like Spotlight Branding to take care of the execution of it for you. Or if you wanted to execute yourself, you could. I am a former high school English teacher, but my undergrad and master's is in marketing. And when COVID, I changed gears. So I'm glad to be here, and I'm glad to support solo small biz attorneys.
Awesome. Love that. So broadly speaking, then, why should law firms have a presence on social media?
Well, basically because we have more savvier, we have savvier consumers than we have had in the past. And so what they're doing is, they find out your name, maybe it's a referral, they find out your name, they go to your website, then they go to social media and see what kind of things that you post there. So, whether it's one social media platform or many, it's good to have a presence, at least on one, that you can direct them to so that they know that you know what you're talking about.
Yeah, absolutely. And I love that you brought up that people in their research process are going to be checking out your social media stuff. I mean, I even see this with us, because I've been running a heat map experiment on our website. And basically, for those of you who aren't familiar with what that is I can see where people click the most on our website. It's a heat map. So certain areas of our website will have blue or green or red or orange, based on how much action it gets. And one thing that I see very, very often, obviously the logo at the top left to redirect to the homepage gets a lot of clicks, but the social media icons up at the top of our homepage get a lot of clicks as well. And so that tells me that when people land on our website, they're also going to check out what we're doing on social media. And that's what's happening for people in who are researching law firms.
Right. They'll click that follow button and follow you for a little bit to see if you post often, to see what you post, to make sure that you're a human being.
Right.
Because, they don't hire a logo. They hire people.
Yeah, exactly. So, when we're talking about social media and how people are trying to make that human connection, what have you seen from consumers when it comes to what they're looking for when they do interact with a business on social media? What are they trying to accomplish when maybe they end up following, or maybe they don't even have to follow, but just consuming the content from a law firm on social media?
Well, from a firm's perspective, from the consumer's perspective, they are mostly looking for answers to their most frequently asked questions.
Yeah.
They are looking for empathy that you might have toward them. That it's just not another case. You'll be somehow invested in them. So, that sort of feel. And they're looking for other people, when you've gotten reviews, are you posting what someone said about you or your firm or the people in your firm? Even reviews such as I talked to Stacy, the receptionist, and she was able to help me out with these few frequently asked things, and she was amazing. So,
Yeah.
aspect of the firm.
Right. So it's interesting. One thing that I did not hear you say was that people are looking to be sold to when they go on social media. They're not, all of these call to actions, call our firm, call our firm, call our firm. It's not really what they're looking for.
Absolutely not. Absolutely not. They're looking for the humanity behind the firm, behind the individual. You don't necessarily have to post pictures of your kids or your dog or whatever, but maybe you bring your dog to the office every day. That would be something that would connect. But
Yeah.
no, no sold to. I mean, yeah, an occasional. My rule of thumb is for every 5 posts you do, one of them might have a call to action that
Yeah.
prompts to do something, but you've let it up with those other four.
Yeah, yeah, I love that. I think even you mentioned this when you give presentations, but it's kind of adapting the 80-20 rule to your social media strategy. 80% of your post should be, you know, making those connections, providing value, and then that 20% can be a little bit more of a call to action and sort of thing. The other thing that I wanted to ask you about, especially we see this a lot in the legal field. Trust is just a huge hurdle that a lot of law firms have to overcome, and being able to show that credibility, show that authority, and be able to show that you can be trusted is really, really vital to a successful social media strategy for firms like that. So how does a firm work on those things, establish that trust and credibility with their audience?
Number one, post educational content on their level. You have to kind of, well, no, you've got to write it in terms of the language that you and I use every day,
Yeah.
and consumers use every day. You can't use legalese when you're talking to your end consumer because they don't know it, they don't understand it.
Yeah.
Um, so that's one thing that you're
Yeah.
talking to them, not. And then another way to build trust is show your face. And I know that that's so hard, but people connect with people. And, I can't say it over and over again to my clients that you've just got to. You don't necessarily have to do a video. If it's a post with you sitting at your desk working on something, there's all sorts of technology. You can blur out whoever it is that you're working on, or whatever case it is. So you have options to show yourself without having to do a cheesy um, selfie.
Right. Yeah, absolutely. And at the same time, I think, you don't necessarily have to go out and spend a ton of money on a big professional photo shoot and have like a bank of hundreds of photos with perfect lighting and touched up and all of that, in order to, like, people are looking for just an authentic experience. And I think authentic is, I think, kind of the key word there, where, to what you're talking about, they just want to know that you are also a fellow human being, but with the specialized knowledge that can help them overcome whatever situation that they're dealing with.
Absolutely. And along with that humanity and authenticity, it's so uncomfortable for attorneys, and I know that after talking with my clients, that there's a barrier there,
Yeah.
that you know what line can I cross, that sort of thing. um and seriously, I lost my train of thought there.
No, you're good. You're good. And so, we can pick it up here. Um, to that point, because I love that you brought up the ethical side of things, because that's something that I really wanted to drill down into. I know that each state bar has its own set of rules, but I know that keeping, uh, you know, keeping your best foot forward, or how you might be perceived, even down to any sort of posts that you like or comments that you leave. I know a lot of lawyers are very, very wary of how any of that might be perceived or interpreted. Are there any broad ethical concerns for people to keep in mind, for lawyers specifically to keep in mind as they use social media, whether it's what they post on their page or how they engage with other pages that they follow?
Um, well, number one is, if you create a post, don't make a promise across the board.
Right.
Make sure that you're not, um, and you don't have to use the word promise to make a promise. I have
Right.
learned. So that to me is one of the biggest things. Now, on the flip side, um, unless you are planning on trying to become a judge, or you maybe work in, maybe off and on in with a state agency of some sort, or have a
Mhm.
contract with that, you probably do have to be careful what sort of religious and political
Mhm.
um posts that you like and comment on and that sort of thing. But everybody, this is one thing that I think a lot of people just in any sort of business has the trouble understanding. You're not for everybody.
Right.
And from an standpoint, and from an authentic standpoint, if you choose to support one issue with your school board, it's going to turn off a bunch of people to you. But guess what? They weren't your people to begin with.
Right.
They weren't the people hire you to begin with, because they would get in that first meeting and go, something's off.
Yeah.
And so, you having an opinion doesn't necessarily harm you in any way with getting clients. As a matter of fact, it attracts the clients that you want towards you. Now, of course, when you're talking politics and religion, you got to be careful. You got to tread lightly. But if you are the vice president of the Republican Party group in your area, or Democratic group in your area, and you're not posting Democratic or Republican type things, you're not being authentic
Right.
to yourself.
Yeah.
So, to me, the ethical aspect is in correlation to the authenticity aspect.
Yeah.
You know, that's where, I think that attorneys get hung up. I have to have this persona at work, and then I can have this persona at home. Well, guess what? You're the same person both places.
Right.
You're the same person both places. And I guarantee you, you post a picture of you and your dog working together, you're going to turn off the cat people, especially if you say you prefer dogs over cats. They weren't your people to begin with.
Right. Yeah, absolutely. There are two statements that immediately came to mind that, it's essentially saying the same thing, but I think they're very powerful. The first one is, if you're trying to market to everyone, you're not marketing to anyone, right? But
Right.
on the other side of that, it's, your marketing should repel people, not just attract people, right? And so,
Right.
it's kind of the same thing said two different ways. And so, as long as you're and all of this can err on the side of subjectivity, but broadly speaking, be authentic, but there's no need to be like aggressively divisive. I think that's kind of a good way to put it.
You want to repel people, because that makes the people who are attracted to you trust you.
Mhm.
You- You're trading trust. You're trading getting rid of these people for building trust and a relationship with.
Yeah.
You may not realize you are with these people who find you very authentic and very trustworthy.
Yeah, absolutely. And one of the big things that I've learned, as I've kind of continued on in my career here, I would absolutely rather talk to a room of 10 people who are fully engaged, fully paying attention, than a room full of 100 people who were just there.
Exactly. and,
Yeah.
and it's the same. 1 out of 100 as a client versus 2 out of 10 as a client.
Yeah, exactly.
You know, it's much better odds.
Right.
And at
So,
that point,
yeah.
you know, or you the more followers that you have that are truly attracted to you, um, and they may never become a client, but they are like, you are so cool, or whatever the newfangled word is.
Yeah.
But you are so cool as an individual, and great advice that there would be this opportunity to share more,
Yes.
and they might refer you to someone. So you're building up all sorts of stuff here.
Yes, absolutely. And I'm so glad you brought that up because I think, that's something that kind of gets missed in a broader social media strategy, is having that presence allows you to expand your reach and get in front of a lot of people. And even if, you know, individual A, B, C, D, E, F, whatever, doesn't become a paying client, if you can create a fan out of them, it's almost still like you got their email and they're added to your email list, or that they become a lead in your system because they follow you, they're invested in what you do. And so now you've been able to tap into their network regardless, so that even if they don't necessarily need your services, you're going to be the first person that they think of if they know someone who might end up needing legal services in the future.
Absolutely. I have a former client who talked to me a little bit about TikTok, and he started a TikTok channel that is just him grilling meats because he
Hmm.
has this cool with a barrister thing and stuff in there. And so people are attracted to that because they enjoy watching cooking shows. And it's not
Yeah.
really a show, the process. And he's gotten referrals from, oh, I found this attorney in X city on TikTok. Why don't you give him a call? I think he does family law, or I think he does this. It's just wonderful. And he never shows his face.
Interesting.
Interesting. But
Interesting.
I think food, I think, is the key there, though.
Yeah. Well, and that's the thing. So we had attorney Daryl Isaacs on a couple of weeks ago. He's a big personal injury attorney in Kentucky, and he was talking about something similar like that, where a lot of his content isn't even anything related to his law practice. It's about, like, he went on this really big weight loss journey, this fitness transformation, and that's what his content was about. And that's what helped, that's what got people to resonate with him. And then now all of a sudden it's, people send business because, like, to your point, it's like, hey, there's this guy, follow, he's an attorney, check him out, if you need that. So yeah, it's it's, I guess, non-traditional would be kind of the way to say it, but that's what also social
And
media allows for.
absolutely. And you know, people love those sorts of stories of transformation.
Yeah.
So if you do have a transformation story, that is something truly that you could tell online without losing your professionalism. If you've
Yeah.
gone through a struggle, what you did to get where you are. Maybe you were the first to graduate high school in your family, and bam, you push through and have this degree, and you're living a life that you didn't expect to live. So many options there.
Yeah, absolutely. So the last question that I had for you before we wrap up here, um, engagement is always a point of discussion, and I think most marketers, especially in most other industries, really value engagement as a sign of success on social media. What I've seen, outside of those few examples where it's content that's not related to the actual law practice, but a lot of times that subject matter is very heavy. It's pretty sensitive. People may not feel very comfortable engaging with it. But
Mhm.
whenever it does happen, are there any ethical rules when it comes to engagement, or vice versa? Should law firms be engaging with their followers or other pages or that sense? And how should they go about doing that?
Um, oh gosh, I have found this to be a very tricky line
Mhm.
because there's so much there that could go right and so
Right.
much there that could go wrong. Um, If you are a small law firm and you have maybe a receptionist or a administrative assistant that can answer questions and that sort of thing and refer them, I think what you have to do is, especially if the question's asked, how much do you charge for a divorce? You either have someone who is sort of more neutral in your firm,
Yeah.
possibly answer the question and refer them to the website or refer them to a link for a consultation. Um, but you are exactly right. People don't want to see a post about divorce and then have their cousin tag them in it. You were looking for a divorce attorney, Susan. They just don't want to do that. So it is very sensitive, and it
Yeah.
probably it gets shared. It gets shared through Messenger if it's
Right.
Facebook, or even the other ones too. But I think as an attorney, if you are the only person and you are handling your social media account, I would just consistently direct them to a consultation,
Mhm.
15 minutes, whatever, something to get them in your sphere,
Yeah.
um, or send them to your website, the correct page on the website that might answer that question. And that's where frequently asked questions and blogs come in so important.
Yeah. Yeah. And also, and like, what we always tell people is look at the link clicks, look at your reach, how many people are you getting in front of. Those are also very valuable metrics to determine how well your social media strategy is doing. But I would say that, like, if engagement is important to you, it's all about some of the other stuff that you mentioned. Be
Mhm.
your authentic self, share those behind the scenes photos and do some of those things that way. But I think also you got to get what you got to give what you want in return, right? Like, you can't sit back and just expect people to leave a bunch of comments, be like, "Oh my gosh, you're so great." Like, you do have to go out there and kind of engage with the community as well.
And so, going back to my example of you working with your dog, oh, your golden retriever is so pretty. Yeah, she is, except the hair. I have to brush her 6 times a day. I mean, so that's not making a promise. That's not talking about your law firm, and that's making it human. Oh my gosh, he has to brush his dog's hair like I do, you know.
Right.
And then they come back. Oh, do you have enough to make a sweater? Oh, 7 sweaters. You know, they
Yeah.
get your personality. They they, they get that you're a human and have some of the same things that they do. Have some of the
Yeah.
same, yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. So I think that that's a good place to kind of wrap up here. How can people reach out to you to learn more about the ways that you help, not just social media, but just all kinds of marketing, strategy and things related to a firm?
Well, I have some free resources that help with finding your ideal client, finding your internal brand, because I have learned that a lot of attorneys do not have, if they have a mission, yes, but they don't have values, they don't have a vision, they don't have a purpose statement. And I think part of the reason is because they're nervous that they're going to get held to them, but it's
Mm,
all about how you write them.
yeah,
But you can go to thebackpocketcmo.com /resources. And then you can email me at emily@thebackpocketcmo.com.
awesome. And I'll make sure that that link and your email is in the show notes so people can reach out, grab those good resources and learn a little bit more. My final question for you before we wrap things up here is, if you had one final piece of advice for our listeners, what would it be?
Well, and it goes back to our authenticity topic. But
Yeah.
unless you're a brand, your face is going to mean more than a logo. And
Yeah.
that can even be um, um, name brand. Be as authentic as possible on a personal brand account and find the face of the law firm if you're serious about connections.
Love it. Yeah, absolutely. And so, I think a lot of good stuff here today. I think, if you're not on social media, you should absolutely be on social media. Like Emily said, kind of at the beginning, start with just one platform at least, and build a really solid presence there. Post consistently. People are going to be looking for it. They're going to be checking it out and seeing all the things that you're posting there. But then, yeah, just be authentic. Understand kind of where that line is, to where things might make ethical issues out of it. But again, I think a lot of lawyers err on the side of being super, super cautious. And I think a lot of their hesitations and fears are just out of being way more careful than they need to be. For example, like I would say that like any lawyer that comments on a post that we make, I don't think is going to be seen as an endorsement of our company or our services. And I don't think anyone else is going to hold that and assume that of them as well.
Right. And I absolutely agree with that, because the endorsements and the recommendations and the reviews all come from leaving reviews or
Right.
testimonial.
Right.
Um, so those are, you might have to be careful who you leave a review for and how you leave that review. But endorsement of someone or something, a comment is not, unless you come out and say, yeah, this is exactly right, perfect, you're wonderful, I use you all the time,
Right. Yeah.
isn't an endorsement. So.
Yeah. Awesome. Well, this has been a lot of great information. I know that this is something that we hear a lot about, and concerns that we hear. So I'm really glad we were able to address that this week. Definitely go check out Emily's resources. That link is in the show notes. But thank you all for continuing to listen. Please leave a rating and review wherever you're listening if you have not done so yet. And that's going to do it. Emily, thanks so much for joining us.
Thank you.
Thanks for listening. To learn more, go to spotlightbranding.com/centerstage.